This is something that happened only a few days ago. My niece Sierra, who is 24 years old, had a baby 2.5 weeks ago. She and her partner decided they didn't want anyone at the hospital and would handle visits when things settled a bit. Her dad and stepmom offered to host any family on her paternal side she wanted to have meet the baby, and she agreed, and I was invited. During the visit, my brother was holding Sierra's baby, and he told stepmom, who is the step-grandma, that their first grandchild looks just like her and that Sierra's child was a mini stepmom. Sierra told her dad not to say that. He told her it was true and that she should be proud. Stepmom asked her why that offended her so much. After all, she is grandma, and these things can happen. Sierra said, she's a stepmom, a step-grandma. She is not biologically related to her or her child, and both of them need to accept that and stop trying to force this idea that they, Sierra, her child, but also Sierra's full siblings, look like stepmom. My brother told her to calm down and stop acting hormonal and like there's something wrong with finding familiar features in family. Sierra took her baby off my brother and passed the baby to her partner. Then she told them stepmom is not her real family, is not her real mom, and is not who she looks like. She told them she has always looked just like her mom, and so does her baby. She told them she had warned them they were going to stop acting like stepmom was her actual mom and the actual grandma, or she would walk. And she did. She told them she was done. I followed Sierra out, which angered my brother and stepmom. I soothed Sierra and reassured her that we haven't all forgotten her mom. Once I got home, I realized the anger my brother and stepmom held toward me for leaving too, because I received several texts. They told me I had defended Sierra for being unreasonably nasty to them, and especially to stepmom, and I should have stayed to support them instead of Sierra. Now for some background. My brother was widowed young. Sierra was the oldest at 7, and her siblings were 4 and 2. My brother remarried 18 months after his first wife died. He had known stepmom for 6 months at the time. It was very fast for Sierra, but the marriage also started because my brother wanted the kids to have a mom, which is something Sierra never liked. She has never cared for stepmom, but learned to tolerate her over time. However, my brother and stepmom do like to talk as though stepmom birthed the 3 original kids, which I mentioned before wasn't right because their moms still deserved to be recognized. I was ignored, however, and to clarify what I mean by that, stepmom and my brother will say the kids look just like stepmom when all 3 favor their mom heavily, or they'll claim they have saved for the kids since birth. They also describe Sierra as their firstborn child. Comments of that nature are very common from them. Am I the jerk? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She told them she had warned them they were going to stop acting like my sister-in-law was her actual mom and the actual grandma, or she would walk. Your niece told her father beforehand that she would not accept him passing on this ridiculous fallacy to her child. He made an informed choice and dared to blame her reaction on hormones and call her unreasonably nasty. Continue supporting your niece. It is 100% her choice how her child is raised. She showed kindness by giving him a chance, even though she likely knew he wouldn't hold to his word. Not the a-hole. Comment 2. My sister-in-law and my brother will say the kids look just like my sister-in-law when all 3 favor their mom heavily, or they'll claim they have saved for the kids since birth. They also describe Sierra as their firstborn child. Comments of that nature are very common from them. That is creepy and bizarre, and I am amazed any of the kids still speak to them because I would be repulsed. Not the a-hole. They told me I had defended Sierra being unreasonably nasty to them. No. Now for the update. I'm still dealing with the fallout from my brother and his wife, expecting me to choose them over my niece. And it just keeps getting worse. So a little backstory. I have a brother and a niece, Sierra. My brother was married to his first wife for 10 years and had Sierra. Sierra's mom unexpectedly passed away when she was 11. 18 months later, my brother married his current wife. Sierra has never been able to accept her as her stepmom. I get it. It took me a while to like her too. But that being said, Sierra has had a pretty strained relationship with my brother and his wife for the past 13 years. This isn't the first time it's come to a head, but it's the biggest blowout so far. I was at a family gathering at my brother's house where I was told that Sierra and her partner had a baby 3 weeks ago. Everyone was upset that they didn't tell us sooner, but I understood why. They wanted a private introduction to their baby. My brother hosted a family gathering to meet the baby, and it was a disaster. My brother made a comment about how the baby looked like his wife. Sierra lost it. She told him, "Stop pretending that woman is part of our family. I am so sick of you acting like she is my baby's grandmother. She is not. My mother passed away not even 2 years ago, and I don't look like her. My baby looks like my mother." My brother got upset and said, "She's your stepmother, and you need to accept her as family." Sierra got up to leave, and I followed her out. My brother got more upset that I chose her over him. The next day, I got a group text from my brother and his wife demanding an apology for siding with Sierra and leaving the family gathering with her. I paused before responding because I wanted to gather my thoughts. I knew this was going to be a tough situation. Sierra reached out to me to thank me for my support during the confrontation. She told me that she was sorry that she had to leave like that. My brother and his wife continued to send messages, escalating their accusations about me being disrespectful to them. I decided to confront my brother directly about how he treated Sierra. I called him. The conversation quickly turned hostile. He insisted that Sierra needed to accept her stepmother as family. I pointed out that she lost her mother and has every right to her feelings. He hung up angrily. Later, I got a message from Sierra saying she felt overwhelmed and needed to take a break from family. I agreed to meet Sierra at a local cafe to talk things over. At the cafe, we discussed how she felt suffocated by her father's expectations. She revealed that her stepmom had been trying to take over her mother's memory by pushing for a family photo with the baby. I understood why this upset her and offered to help her create her own family traditions. A few days later, I noticed my brother and his wife posting photos of the baby on social media. The posts included captions that implied they were the baby's primary guardians. Sierra became upset after seeing these posts, feeling her role as a mother was being undermined. I decided to take action. I planned a surprise gathering for Sierra to celebrate her motherhood. I organized a small get-together at my home, inviting only close friends and supportive family members. The day of the gathering, I made sure to emphasize Sierra's importance as a mother during the event. My brother and his wife were not invited, creating a clear divide in family loyalties. After the gathering, I shared photos online, highlighting Sierra and her baby, ensuring she felt celebrated. My brother saw the posts and sent me an angry message, accusing me of trying to turn the family against him. I reminded him that Sierra deserved support and acknowledgement. He retaliated by threatening to cut ties with me if I continued to fuel Sierra's resentment. A week later, my brother and his wife came over to talk to me. They were upset that I had taken Sierra's side and weren't willing to help her heal her relationship with them. I told them that I would help Sierra heal, but they needed to be aware of the things they did to her. They were confused by what I meant and asked me to elaborate. I told them that Sierra had a right to be upset with them. They had done a lot to push her away, and she was justified in her feelings. They denied this, claiming that they had always been loving and accepting of her. I pulled out some old family photos and messages that illustrated the things they had done to try and replace her mother. They were taken aback by this and demanded to know why I had these things. I told them that I had always been on Sierra's side, and I had kept them to remind myself of the things they had done. They left angrily, vowing to speak with my brother about it. My brother confronted me later in the week, demanding to know why I attacked his wife. He claimed that he was trying to bring his family together, and I was tearing it apart. I stood my ground, insisting that family should prioritize the well-being of its members. In the end, my brother and his wife decided to cut ties with me completely. The family dynamics shifted, leaving them isolated as Sierra embraced her new role as a mother. Mini update. Sierra has decided to take a break from the entire family for now. She feels overwhelmed by the pressure to accept her stepmother and needs time to heal. Am I the idiot for throwing away my stepmother's family treasure and posting a tribute to my real mom. I, an 18-year-old male, moved out of my dad's house last month, the day I turned 18. I no longer live in the same town, and instead, I moved in with 3 of my friends who are starting college next month, and I'm about to start trade school. I'm working until trade school starts to afford rent and food. The 4 of us are splitting the cost between us. I did not take money from my dad. The day I left, my dad's wife gave me this photo album, saying it was a growing-up gift. This photo album contained photos from the 7 years since she and my dad married. I did not appreciate the gift, nor did I want it, which I told her to her face. She told me to take it and that I should have family photos when I moved out. Before I left, I threw the album into the trash. To explain why I did this, I need to provide some background. When I was 10, my mom died. She had an allergic reaction while we were out for a celebratory dinner for my dad, and she died on the way to the hospital. Mom was the glue that held us together. Dad and I were never very close before she died. But 6 weeks later, my dad had already met his wife, and they boxed up all of my mom's things: clothes, jewelry, photos of her, her phone, keys, anything that was just hers. And they brought it to the dump. I never got anything, and neither did any of her family. I was furious, and I will never forgive my dad for what he did. The very next day, he moved that woman in. They were married 4 months later, having a small but still an actual formal wedding. They dragged me to it and pretended everything was fine and normal. She even gave a speech about being so excited to have a son of her own and all the adventures we'll have together. When I was 12, I got copies of a couple of photos of my mom from extended family and put them in my room. Dad's wife found the photos, and she removed them, saying I didn't need those and that I'd bring everyone down by having them in the house. I yelled at her, cursed at her, wished her dead, and my dad yelled at me for disrespecting his wife. I told him that day I wished he had died instead of my mom. He told me he wished he had let my grandparents take me after the fight they had about mom's stuff going to the dump. I told him I wished he had. The 7 years of living with the 2 of them were hell. I'm so glad I'm gone. I have no respect for either of them, and I don't care that my dad lost someone too. He threw her away, and not just from him. After I settled into my apartment, Dad suddenly remembered my number for the first time in 3 years and called me out for upsetting and disrespecting his wife by throwing her gift away. He told me she did it out of love. I ignored it. She sent me a text on Dad's phone telling me I should be surrounded by happy family memories, which was why she made the album. I sent a photo of my room, which has photos of my mom, the ones I got copies of. That was the only reply I made. But I got several more texts, some from an unknown number after I blocked Dad, saying I was acting spitefully. Am I the jerk? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your father and his wife are trying to erase the existence of your mother. It is okay to throw your mom's stuff out, but it is not okay for you to throw out the horrible stepmother's album. Comment 2. As a dad, I don't know how someone can just move on so quickly, get married, and pretend like nothing happened. It's madness. Now, for the update. A couple of days after my last post, my dad texted me, asking if we could meet to talk. I was super busy with boxes, trying to make my new place feel somewhat like home, so I just ignored him. I was busy unpacking my life, you know? My friends, noticing I was trying to make my new place look somewhat decent, decided to throw me a little housewarming thing. Nothing huge, just a few drinks, some snacks, and a ton of laughter. So there we are, having a great time when my phone buzzes with a notification. It's from social media, and it's a post from my stepmom. This woman had the nerve to post a picture of the photo album I tossed, calling it a family treasure. Like, seriously. It was a treasure until it met the bottom of a trash can. The post was just her trying to play the victim, and not even a good victim at that. She had all these comments from family members saying how great it was that she was preserving family history. Family history? What history? The history that erased my mom from the family narrative. One of my friends, in a moment of, I don't know, maybe craziness, suggested we crash a family dinner to confront them. At first, I was like, no way. But then I thought, what the hell? I'll go with my friends, and we can clear the air or blow it up, whichever. So we roll up to this restaurant where my dad, my stepmom, and my brother Jake are having dinner. I walk in, and Jake spots me immediately and waves me over. My dad looks shocked, but then he forces this big fake smile and invites us to sit with them. The whole thing started off awkward, like, do we talk about the weather or the food? We talked about the food. Then I just blurted out, so what's the deal with that photo album? Why does it matter so much? My dad starts to explain something, but my stepmom cuts him off, claiming it was all about family history. I pointed out that family history shouldn't erase my mom's memory. The atmosphere got tense, and my brother tried to be the peacekeeper, suggesting we all just move on and keep the peace. Then my stepmom went off, accusing me of being selfish and not wanting anyone to be happy. My friends jumped in, defending me and calling out her ridiculous behavior. By this point, the restaurant staff noticed the escalating argument and came over. I stood up, pretty much done with the whole toxic atmosphere, and challenged my dad to take a stand for his own son rather than siding with his wife. So I walked out of there, my friends trailing behind me. Outside, we talked about how ridiculous it was. I mean, come on, my dad should have had my back, right? But no, he just stood there like a statue. They were all like, "What's your next move?" I knew I had to do something after seeing that social media post. So I gathered a few pictures of my mom and made a tribute post. I wanted to show my memories in a way that couldn't be dismissed or thrown away like yesterday's trash. The next day, I posted a heartfelt tribute to my mom on social media. I included the story of how my stepmom discarded her memory in favor of this new family narrative she was trying to create. My post gained traction, and I got a ton of support from friends and family in the comments. Then my dad's wife exploded in the comments, demanding I take it down. I was like, no way. This is my freedom of expression. My dad called me all furious, wanting to meet up and discuss the situation. I agreed, knowing it would be a larger confrontation, but I needed to have it out with him. At the meeting, I laid it all out. The disrespect, the dismissal of my mom's memory, the whole thing. My dad struggled to defend his wife. He could see the public support for me. I think he finally realized how many people thought he was a jerk. The conversation ended with him storming out, frustrated and unable to dismiss my feelings. Am I the idiot for refusing to take my ex's kids on outings with my sons? I, a 32-year-old male, have two sons, Jamie, an 11-year-old male, and Jaden, a 10-year-old male. Their mother and I were high school sweethearts who had the boys before we finished college. We had planned to get married, but then I found out my ex was cheating on me, and I broke up with her. Jaden was 14 months old at the time. We split custody, and I paid child support for the first 18 months after our breakup, until my ex was earning similarly to me, which meant child support was ceased, and costs were simply split with nobody giving anyone extra. My ex had another son 2 years after we broke up. The father was not in the picture. She told me he was the guy she cheated on me with, and that she realized he was not a good person, and asked if I would consider adopting her son and raising him as my own alongside our boys. I told her I wasn't going to do that. We ended up arguing about this for so long that she had time to get into another relationship and move this man in, so I told her that he should be a father figure to her son since they planned on building a life together. Within a year, that guy was gone, and she had a daughter he fathered. I continued being a dad to my sons only. I didn't interact with her other two children, but I would see them from a distance during exchanges. She asked me to adopt both her additional children, stating they needed a father. I told her to go and find their fathers then. She eased up when she met her husband. I thought maybe it was finally the end of her trying to make me responsible for her other children. She has a child with her husband now too, so there are 5 children in total in her household when our boys are included. But it has not lasted. My ex has admitted her husband isn't involved in the lives of her other children, and they are still missing out on having a father. So she asked me to include her 3 other children, which does include the child she has with her husband, in days out I have with my sons. She said especially during summer and around Christmas, when I take them to do fun holiday-themed activities, it's not something she can give her other children, and she wants them to experience these things as well. She finds out when I do these things with my boys because she will quiz them about their time with me. And each time, she gets angry. But when the boys were with her 2 weeks ago, she got extra upset. She had mentioned to me that her son, the oldest of her other 3 children, didn't get much for his birthday, and she had wanted to make it up to him. That was meant to include me. So when she heard our boys and I had visited an amusement park around his birthday, she blew a fuse and asked me how I could be such a bad person to children. She told me I should be doing better as a father. Am I the bad person? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You don't owe her anything, and you are not being an inappropriate parent to your kids. They are not your responsibility. It's not like you are rubbing things in her children's faces. But maybe encourage your sons to not tell their siblings much, which obviously doesn't help with the mother interrogating them. My half-sister's mother abandoned her to my dad when she was 6. My dad didn't ask my mom to take responsibility for her or be a mother to her. It wasn't her job. Granted, we were all equally poor and not doing much. Comment 2. Not the idiot. That is such an odd request. Even if you were crazy enough to agree, why on earth would her current husband be okay with you playing a bigger role in his child's life? She needs to focus on rehabilitating the husband she has, not harassing the one she lost. Next time she asks, give her a brochure on birth control and a copy of your custody schedule that names only 2 children. Now, for the update. It's been a week since my ex got really mad at me for not including her kids at the amusement park. I took a step back and thought about what to do about her demands. I spent the weekend with my sons, Jamie and Jaden, doing our usual stuff, playing soccer, video games, and watching whatever movies they wanted to. They're so into Marvel right now, which I don't mind because I love that stuff too. We even went to see the new Spider-Man movie, which was so good. The guys were super into it the whole time. It's good to see them having fun and enjoying life, especially with everything going on. They're both getting older, and I can see them changing already. Jamie's almost a teenager, and he thinks he's all grown up. He gets so mad when I call him my little guy. I love teasing him. But I can see that he doesn't like it as much anymore. I can tell that Jaden looks up to his big brother. They argue a lot, but they look out for each other too. I like to think I'm doing something right. So yeah, on Sunday, we were having a casual dinner at home. I made some spaghetti, and we were talking about our day. Jamie asked me why we don't see his half-siblings more often. I felt really uncomfortable. I didn't have a solid answer ready. I think he could tell I was uncomfortable because he dropped it and didn't push for more. I reached out to my ex about meeting to discuss the situation. I figured we could have a more civil conversation. We agreed to meet at a local diner the following Saturday. The place is a bit of a dive, but it has the best pancakes and burgers. I got there early because I wanted to prepare myself. I watched as families came in, kids laughing, and parents trying to keep them in check. It was nice, but it kind of made me sad. I couldn't help but think, my sons don't have that with their half-siblings. When my ex arrived, she immediately brought up the amusement park incident again. She kept insisting her children were missing out on important experiences and that I was being unfair. I explained my perspective. I told her I could only manage my own kids. I wasn't trying to be a jerk, but it's the truth. She started accusing me of being selfish. The conversation got heated quickly. At one point, the waiter came over to take our order, and it was the best thing that could have happened. We both fell silent for a moment. After we ordered, we continued arguing. The tension was super high. Once the food arrived, we just sat there in silence, picking at our meals. It was like the conversation was hanging in the air. After dinner, we stepped outside, and she mentioned wanting to arrange a family outing for all the kids together. She got upset again, saying I was avoiding the issue. I noticed this couple walking by with 3 kids. They looked so happy. I kind of wished my boys could have that too. The very next day, my ex texted me about a birthday party for her oldest son, inviting my boys. I decided to take them, thinking it might help ease the situation. At the party, I noticed the tension between my sons and their half-siblings. It was so awkward. The kids barely interacted, and I felt out of place standing alone while everyone else chatted. My ex kept glancing at me, like she was expecting me to take charge of the situation. As cake was being served, her youngest child started crying because he wanted more icing. My ex rushed over, visibly frustrated. Everyone was looking at her, and I could tell other parents were judging her. I offered the child some icing from my son's plate, and it calmed him down. My ex shot me a surprised look but didn't say anything. It made things even more awkward. After the party, my sons asked me why their half-siblings weren't playing with them. I explained that families can be complicated, and sometimes it's hard to blend them. They seemed to understand, but I could tell they felt disappointed. The following week, I got a call from my ex saying she'd like to meet again. I agreed to meet her at a nearby coffee shop for a more serious discussion. When we met, she revealed she was struggling financially and needed help with her kids. I felt bad for her, but I wasn't sure what I could do. We ended the meeting without a clear path forward. The next day, I got a message from a mutual acquaintance hinting that my ex was planning to move away. That really shocked me. I realized that the situation was escalating beyond just simple disagreements. I need to prioritize open communication with my sons about family dynamics. They deserve to know what's going on, and I want them to feel secure and loved. To answer a few questions, my ex and I have been split for over a decade, and our custody arrangement has been fairly stable until now. My sons are aware of their half-siblings, but this situation is making them more curious. My ex's children know about their biological fathers, but they aren't involved in their lives. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.